In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the AndroidXperience Podcast. This is episode 28 on February 15th, 2018. I'm your host, Patrick Virgadamo, and I'm joined by my co-host, Bill Stebbins.
What's going on, Patrick? It seems like it was just yesterday.
Yestermonth? Yesteryear. Yeah, for all our listeners out there, we had a little pause, but life kind of got busy. Hopefully we can kind of pick back up, especially because I'm interested to hear as Bill starts working through his other tech projects and incorporates his the Googleness to that. Plus, we're getting ready. It seems like I/O will just be around the corner at this point. So kind of getting back into the roll of things, talking about our what's happening stuff. The Google Play service update that just came out for the Pixel XL2, and I'm sure it's going to be coming out for the Pixel 2 and eventually for the other devices, appears to finally re-enable that check for update button.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot with that Play Services update. And, you know, I think the last time that we podcasted, we hadn't even realized that we were having Google Wi-Fi issues or whatever Wi-Fi issues as a result of our phones. And after it came out, there was a story about how something with the Google Play service, one of the updates was causing Android phones to just blast out all these pings or whatever to devices that were Chromecasting. And so I noticed, you know, my Wi-Fi had been really wonky, and I kept thinking that it was, you know, something wrong with my network or whatever, and I'd reboot it and it'd be better for a little while. So they fixed that, which was fantastic. And then the check for update button, which I didn't realize they fixed that until I'd already sideloaded the update.
And to me, your first thing, yeah, that was a major issue. People were wondering why their internet was so slow and complaining about other things, complaining to their carriers. And apparently it was your Android phone, when it would wake from dozing, essentially, it would dox your network and all your devices, all your Google Home connected devices, and basically kill your bandwidth, which I'm glad they fixed it. It was kind of disappointing that Play Service update, I don't know about you, I actually had to sideload it because I got tired of waiting on it. Just because I was like, okay, I want my internet not to have that issue anymore. Not that I've noticed it as much, because I guess during that period I wasn't home as much, kind of at work and everything. But it is nice with the update button, because for a long time you just keep pressing check for update when you knew the new update had come out and they had disabled it because of issues. It's nice to know it now that we're finally going to get what they promised us back, what was in October, that when you click it, especially your Pixel devices, if there is an update out there, it will automatically grab it, even instead of making you wait to your position in the queue.
Yeah, I wasn't real keen on sideloading the Play Services update just because there's so many different ones. But if you haven't done it and you haven't gotten the update, if you just sign up for the Play Store, the Play Services beta, then you'll get the latest version automatically.
Yes.
So I'm just going to roll with that until I run into some problems.
I'm just hoping they keep getting them timely out. Although I think the check for update working again will help a lot, especially as we get closer to more updates in the spring.
Right.
So YouTube TV is now adding more channels and apparently some markets, but of course, with all good things comes price increases. I don't know what I haven't really tried YouTube TV just because I already had Hulu, Netflix, and DirecTV Now. But if they would eventually get something that worked well, I might consider it, especially if it had the right channels that I would need. Especially if they would work out some way where it would just do a kind of a combined subscription, so you could have your Google Music, YouTube Red, and YouTube TV as a kind of a discount for having everything, would be nice.
Yeah, I haven't used YouTube TV. They're adding channels, and I love that. They're still missing some channels that I watch or that my wife watches every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love the idea of YouTube TV because it's pretty ubiquitous, and the fact that you can use it on any device almost.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the DVR is cloud-based and it's unlimited and there's 6 accounts. I would switch or whatever, but I just don't want to give up those channels that I enjoy watching, because I don't get to watch a lot of TV, but the stuff that I do like to watch, none of those channels are on YouTube TV.
Yeah, I mean, I've encountered that somewhat myself. Just the reason I haven't killed everything and just going to, because I've looked at maybe just doing the DirecTV Now, because it has pretty much almost every channel I want. Because I was still grandfathered in for the 100 channels for the basically $35 a month. But it's still missing some local channels, which obviously I could fix with an antenna somewhat. But the purpose of having the streaming thing is to have all your channels wherever you're at streaming. But I am happy that at least right now in the beta, they do have a cloud DVR. It'll be interesting to see what the pricing is on that. I've had good luck with it. And it lets you have two people on at once for the account. So, I mean, obviously, like for someone like you, it might not work as well, because if all of you wanted to watch at once, it would be a problem. But I know other friends of mine that have AT&T, they've gone to it because they get a discount because it's DirecTV Now.
Yeah.
And apparently that's kind of the streaming based stuff is where AT&T is trying to push some of the DirecTV stuff for people, because that way they can have it even if they don't have dishes and things of that sort.
Yeah, and I don't think AT&T charges for the bandwidth if you're an AT&T customer and you have DirecTV Now.
Correct. They don't. And at one point, if you catch the right promotions, they were giving people free HBO with it as well.
Yeah, well, YouTube TV kind of looks like the service that I would want to go with for the fact that there's a lot of user accounts, which I need, and then, the cloud DVR. But I'm hopeful that one day we'll be at a point where we can a la carte, and they, oh, you want this channel, it's $2 a month. You want this channel, it's 49 cents, that kind of thing. And then I can just go through and say, I want this, 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 and this. And, then there's a value proposition for me, because it's not just, here's your bundle from Spectrum and it's $122 a month. And if you want this channel, you got to have this whole bundle just to get this one channel, which is kind of the situation I'm in right now, and then that will, to me, that seems like a better deal anyway for both of us, because then they can price stuff accordingly and get rid of stuff that they're not making money on. Right now, I know for a fact that I'm supplementing all these channels that nobody in their right mind would watch.
Correct. The other option we have right now is all of them are coming out with their own streaming services, but that's just so hard to keep track of all of those different services, to have to switch apps to use the different services. I will say I was kind of happy to hear that ESPN has announced that they're expecting their service to be $4.99 a month, which for a lot of people, that's the reason they can't get rid of cable, is because they want to be able to watch their sports, whether it's NASCAR or all the other things that are on ESPN or college sports. And the fact that they're going to have all of that for $4.99 a month.
Yeah, that's almost a no-brainer if that's your bag,
Yeah. Especially if you're a big college sports person. So apparently Google is prepping Android messages for web use, kind of overall theme to make things more where you can log in through the web. I'm assuming part of this is probably to increase the support on Chromebooks, but I don't know about you. I still have kind of hung on. I kind of have two apps I use for messages. For the most part, it's either Hangouts, so I can use my Google Voice, or I use Allo.
That's pretty much me. And honestly, I'm almost at the point where, since I'm only pretty much a one phone person now, which used to be I'd have two or three, Google Voice doesn't really do much for me anymore. And I actually had considered porting my number over to AT&T just so that, I didn't have to deal with two different numbers. But this would be an interesting thing if they do this Android messages and make it an iMessage like service, then I might actually consider doing that. And Allo, I like the app. If they had made Allo Hangouts, if Allo worked just like Hangouts, it would have been a much better experience. because then I could do it on my tablet, or I wouldn't have to deal with some janky web wrapper on my computer. And yeah, I just, they need a strategy leader for the whole messaging thing on Google services.
Yeah, they need one app to do all of the stuff. One app. That's the key. Because I mean, even with the stuff with Duo, I like the fact they've incorporated the Duo stuff with other apps, and like in the phone app and everything. But it'd be nice just to be able to go to here is your messaging app. You can do all your stuff from it.
Yeah, and I still see people asking all the time, what is the Android equivalent of iMessage? I want to switch, but I can't because, and it's just like, well, I mean, Apple's never going to open iMessage, so you're not going to get any kind of a cross-platform thing there. And two, Google isn't really, they don't really seem to care that there's a big mess of messages stuff.
Yeah,
it's choice, right?
Well, and I think part of it too with Google, because of the openness of Android, I'm sure part of their strategy with that too is because their markets, like in the UK, and the EU, that if they start looking like they're trying to monopolize this, they're going to get hit again on the legal side, because it looks like they're trying to force out all these other apps, which is stupid, because why should you need the other apps? But whereas like Apple gets away with it a little more because they're a closed system. They don't really encourage or allow the other messaging apps to be like your default type messaging app. iMessage is your default, and that's it. And so I'm kind of wondering, although we've seen Google trying to slowly claw back control of the ecosystem, I mean, it would be nice to have a equivalent of iMessage so that worked across all your devices. You don't have to have the web wrapper stuff. And it'd be nice, and we've talked about in the past, like with Allo, how Hangouts and even iMessage doesn't require you to have a phone number for a contact. So like if your kid has your old iPad and you just use the Apple ID you use for it, the email address, that's enough to contact them for FaceTime as well as for iMessage.
It would make things so much simpler, even just to back up you got to manually turn on Allo backups, which is just dumb.
Pretty much. I mean, it's discouraging in the fact that you would think you'd want it to be kind of like how Apple's done with iMessage. All of your devices can pick up from any of those. It seems like Google with Android would want you to have your phone, your tablet, your Chromebook, and be able to access it from any of those. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing. Hopefully they get their stuff together with that.
I kind of feel like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. I don't get it.
Yep.
So Google Home, kind of a new feature if you have the right Chromecast. So if you have your old original generation, first gen Chromecast, get rid of it, get you a new one. Google Home can now, when you ask it for the weather, can actually put it up on your screen on your Chromecast, assuming you have the second gen Chromecast or the Chromecast Ultra. I can see that being somewhat useful in the sense that instead of having stared at my phone, or if I'm sitting at the couch and I have the TV on or something, I can have it pull it up on the TV and show me, especially if I'm in the midst of just casting stuff.
Yeah, that I could see. I don't know. It's kind of a whole thing here to turn on the Chromecast. It's not just like, bam, there it is. It's like, oh, let me turn on the receiver and let me turn on the TV and let me, I mean, that's neat, but I probably won't use it. Plus, I only have a couple of the second gen Chromecasts. I've got a stack of first gen Chromecasts. They're everywhere.
I finally gave away most of mine. I think I have one left, which is on my living room TV because it's still just an old 1080p LED TV. But I mean, the bedroom I've replaced, so I've got the Ultra because of the 4K. And I mean, apparently it will also work for some people who have Chromecast built-in TVs. I think it was Vizio's the one that does those. So, I mean, so for some people it may help on those. I will note, like with the Chromecast Ultra and my Samsung, even being a newer TV, it seems like it doesn't have the same ability as my older TV with the original Chromecast to wake from the HDMI, and that's kind of annoying because I like in the living room, if I go to Chromecast something, the TV could be completely off and it'll come on and go straight to my Chromecast. For some reason, the Samsung doesn't do that with the Ultra on the 4K. Did
you make sure that HDMI CEC was turned on?
I did. I had it turned on, and for some reason, it will take precedence if the TV's already on and you activate something, but it doesn't do it from sleep, which is weird.
You may look too and see if there's a specific HDMI port
that needs to be it.
Yeah. And is it plugged in all the time?
Yes, I have, because with the Ultra,
that's right.
Because it's always plugged because it's got the Ethernet to the plug.
Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, you may just double check because some TVs will only have specific ports that support that stuff.
Yeah, and it's possible that it may have given the preference to the Xbox One X as well for that.
Oh yeah, because it has the same capability. So
yeah. And so it may have given that, like you said, it picks a port, and the X, unlike the Chromecast, the Samsung can control it with the remote. So it may have given it the preference because it will turn my TV on if I turn the Xbox on.
Oh yeah. Then that's definitely what's going on there. And I don't know. I don't think two devices can.
It may not be able to for these, especially because this one being only the 43-inch, I'm good. I'm lucky I got 3 ports.
Yeah. No kidding.
Because apparently I think the 2016 version only had 2, and only one of them could do 4K.
Oh, that's dumb.
Or not 4K, HDR. Whereas this one, all 3 ports will do HDR for this 2017 version. I didn't realize I was getting a 17 version so cheap at Labor Day.
You know, my new receiver that I had to get for my projector downstairs, for the first month that I owned it, I didn't realize that I had the Xbox One X plugged into HDMI 4 because that's where it was plugged into on the old one. Only the first 3 ports support HDR. And I had no idea. The projector has some kind of faux HDR that it can do what apparently it was doing. And so once I switched it, I was like, oh my gosh, look at this. It's insane.
It's amazing movies like the HDR. Like I noticed the first one I watched on my I picked it up on Vudu was Wonder Woman. In that movie, because of all the brilliant outside shots and stuff like that, the HDR, you can notice that.
Yeah, and for me with that projector, you know, one of the downsides of a projector is the black levels aren't always all that great on them, and HDR really helps with that. And so once I finally got it all working properly, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is worth the money now. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, I couldn't see going back to non 4K. It's killing me because I know the living room, I want a new one, but I'm like, no, I want to wait because if I'm going to get a new one, I want to do a bigger one for it. And I thought about just getting, I think at one point Sam's had the 60-inch version of this Samsung for like $500. And I thought about it and I was like, no, if I'm going to do a big living room, I'm going to at least get the new QLED. That stuff looks sick.
Oh yeah. I keep looking. I need a TV for the garage, and TCL makes a really good set for like, you know, a few $100. And I was going to put like I was going to replace the living room TV, which is a 65-inch Vizio we've had for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now, and just put that out there. And I spent a lot of time at the workbench, and I'm afraid that's going to be too close, you know, too big, and I won't be able to see anything when I'm out there working. So I don't know.
I will say this. If you ever, I think mine was at $429 for the 43-inch Samsung. Absolutely worth it at that price for the 43-inch, because that's about the smallest you're going to get for 4K. I think TCL makes a 39-inch, but I don't know that it's true 4K. I think it's kind of the faux 4K, like it tries to upscale a little bit. But 43 inches on that, perfect, even bedroom or out there. The 3 ports on it. It's the other thing that I really like with this, and then you and I have talked about this. This 4K also picks up the HD Home Run Prime, the service for it, and so I'm able to watch my channels without a box of any sort with that TV over my network.
Yeah, that's awesome. My Samsung would have done that. Well, it used to do that, and then they disabled it in a firmware update, and it's gone.
Because this one, it does not have what was the original way, which I think forget the acronyms for it
or something.
Yeah, this one is I think it was DRS or something like that was the original server that this one doesn't have it either, but it recognizes it as, I think it's called a DMS server. And so it shows the 3 tuners, but if I click on the DMS service, it shows me a folder of favorites and then all channels. And then in that folder is basically looks like video clips of every channel. If I just click on the channel, it starts the feed and I've got that channel. So my favorite channel, I just basically put all the few favorites I have in that, and I can just go click. So like during college football season, click on ESPN, boom, I'm watching it without having to get out of bed or have a box of any sort in the bedroom.
Well, and here's something else that I discovered kind of by accident was if you're using the VLC app and the tuners will show up on there and function the same way. So you can watch stuff through the VLC app on your device.
Yeah. The only thing mine won't do, because I tried it to see because I've got a play on server set up for where it basically rip stuff from like Netflix or Hulu and things like that. So I can get my episodes that way. Because it'll also pull from like the CW feed and things of that sort. It will not play the videos that I have recorded because for some reason it only will play it if I put them on a hard drive and connect the hard drive directly. Something with the coding, it won't allow the play of those videos over the network. And so I'm like, oh, that would have been the perfect thing. Because then I have like episodes, like if I miss CW, like the DC superhero stuff, I can just record it off the CW feed and go back and watch it. And so it's like, oh, but I mean, other than that, it works well for everything I would want it to do. And so I do, because I mean, to me, that was a way to kind of cut boxes and stuff too.
Yeah,
definitely. To be able to do that. So apparently Android users who have eschewed from using Google Home, or because you got a gift of somebody giving you Amazon Echo or a Dot, you can now use Amazon Alexa if you're an Android user to send SMS text messages.
I'm not a big fan of that just because it doesn't ever seem to work reliably on whatever I'm trying to do, whether it be my watch or, any of them. I'd be afraid of what message might get sent out.
Yeah, and I'm also worried because even typing, I was joking with my sister the other day, it seems they autocorrect only correct stuff that you don't want it to correct. Because like you'll have you'll mistype something and it doesn't correct it. You're like, what the hell? You'll correct a word that was spelled correctly, but you think it should be something else. But the one time I mix up 2 letters or something and misspell the word, why don't you autocorrect that?
Yeah.
I could only imagine doing it audio wise, because I was joking with my sister. I was driving the other day. I wanted to respond to a text she had sent, but I didn't want obviously try to text and drive because especially when it's heavy traffic. So I responded to her and she's like, I think I said, I'm feeling something. And it said, I'm feeling. And she's like, you mean feeling? I said, yeah, apparently it doesn't do so well with my accent. I need I don't know if you've seen the commercial, the humor joke commercial for the Amazon Echo for the Southern version.
Oh yeah.
For people so it can understand you. But yeah, sometimes it really doesn't, it struggles sometimes to get what you're saying. And I can imagine if it goes ahead and sends it.
Exactly.
Or the converse is if you keep screaming at it, kind of like I used to do with my Xbox One, trying to turn it on or off, and you're sitting there going, eventually you're screaming at your Amazon device to send a text message, which by that point you could have just picked up your phone and texted it out.
Exactly. And then you know what's going out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could see it for like a quick response, like yes, no, things like that. But even those, I mean, if you're a person and you're willing to deal with the headaches for that, at least you now have the option.
Right.
And I see you've added one.
I did. My daughter has the Amazon Prime exclusive Moto G5 Plus, and it has ads, which, saved me, I don't know, $40-$50 or something. And they weren't too bad. They were on the lock screen and they weren't too bad for a while. Then it started to kind of slow her phone down and just be real janky. And so I went and found a hack to remove them. And so recently, within the last week, Amazon announced they were removing the ads from all of their Prime exclusive phones. Apparently, Google has updated their terms of service for the developers or manufacturers, and they're not allowed to do this anymore.
Huh.
So, and good guy Amazon is actually refunding people that had paid the fee to remove the ads. So that's good on them. They still, I think they raised the price a little bit of their Prime exclusive phones, but they're still a good deal. And now that they won't have any ads in them, probably worth considering, especially if you need a second phone.
So for the G5 Plus, what was the difference for the exclusive?
I think it was $199 versus $249.
And is that the 2 or the 4 gig RAM?
I don't remember.
Because I had picked up the 2 gig one, 2 gig RAM one, which I think is the 32 gig storage from Best Buy. They had a sale. I got it for my stepdad because his S3 had finally destroyed it or something. Or no, I take it back. It disappeared and tracking showed it like a state and a half over. And so they shut his phone down, but he needed a phone. So instead of going spend extra money on something, because he's always hard on his phones, I got him the G5 Plus from Best Buy when they had their sale back in the spring. And it was, I think I paid $180.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm looking through my email to see if I have it. But yeah, it was $40 or $50 difference. And I mean, I think it was worth it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always, like, if I buy a Kindle, I always get that, because then if I decide later I really want to get rid of the lock screen ads, it's $20 for that. And so I've done it eventually on my Paperwhite, but not to pay that up front. Great. Because I can always just pay the $20 later. It's kind of funny, though, in their settings for that. If you don't have them, you have the option to turn those on because maybe you want to be bombarded with ads of potential books. I'm just like, I don't know why anybody would want to have that. I can understand doing it because you get a discount, but
yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, I guess some people want to save money, and that's fine. I don't know why it's not showing up in my email. Go figure. But yeah, it looks like it was a $40 difference.
Yeah, I mean, and you got it like when it first came out, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I pre-ordered it, so.
Yeah. Because I remember we didn't get the G5 because I think that was like an exclusive overseas or some reason. And then the Plus, it was the one that hit here. And I mean, that is probably one of the best cheap phones out there for someone who wants to get a phone without a contractor paying a lot of money. Because I mean, it's compatible with all of the 4 big carriers and compatible with a few others. The specs are not bad, even for the 2 gig model. I mean, obviously the 4 gig model is really nice because I mean, it's got more RAM than even like the Huawei 6P and things like that. But it has the fingerprint reader, although theirs is on the front.
Yeah. But
I know some people who actually like that because if you're a person who wants to open your phone while it's sitting on the table, that's a good place to put it. I kind of wish they'd have it on both places, but
well, yeah, and I always have this debate with iOS users or iPhone users. Smart lock, double tap on my Pixel 2 XL. I just double tap the screen and bam, I'm in. I don't have to worry about that. But
yeah, I mean, and the good thing about the 6 Plus, I mean, not the 6 Plus, the G5 Plus, it's got they get updates pretty quick. It's got good camera, good specs. It has micro SD, so if you want to add more storage to whatever storage level you get, whether the 32 or 64, has this fast charging, which is another great thing to have in a little budget phone. I mean, for what you get for that phone for the price, it's probably the best bang for your buck on Android.
Yeah, and for a 12-year-old girl, it's been perfect, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and even if you have like a parent or something like that, or you need a burner phone, like you haven't, if something happens to your phone and let's say you forgot to get insurance on it or the Protect. And so it's a great way to have another phone on a get-go. Or the other thing would be, this one probably not as much because it's more geared towards North America, but the price level for this, if you get the 5, if you're going to Europe for a trip, just get you a prepaid SIM, pop it in that thing, and you have a phone that if something happens to it, oh well.
Yep, pretty much.
But so I mean, yeah, that's good. And I'm wondering, part of their, just not besides the terms of service, is if it was slowing down devices, that may have been some other pressure for them to get rid of the ads off those phones. Because unlike a Kindle, which doesn't care what your lock screen is, your phone's a little different because it's running an OS constantly.
Yep.
So kind of moving to our top stories, we're starting to see information about Android P, which I'm curious to see what that's going to be.
Pi.
That's what you're thinking?
I'm thinking.
It'd be really nice if they came out on Pi Day, but that's probably too soon.
And well, they're going to have the beta probably pretty soon, actually.
That would be perfect time to put it out, Pi Day.
But remember, they don't name it until it's official. So
yeah, it would still be P.
It's pistachio ice cream, I think.
I mean, there's so many things they could use with that. But
peanut butter.
I mean, yeah. I always thought go with for the double one, call it peppermint patty.
Yeah.
Do something with York.
There you go.
I mean, since Oreo, although I still don't get how. I guess that was kind of like Kit Kat.
Yeah.
Get approval for it. Although Oreo has other connotations that could be used. Although since they're using the dessert connotation, I'm sure they had to do something with Nabisco.
Mm-hmm.
Nest is apparently going to be merging it. The team for Nest is going to be merged into the Google hardware team. And this is the team who does all the Google Home stuff. I think it could be good because that way we have more seamless across for your devices. I mean, we already have some functionality between Home, but you have to go in and set it up and everything because originally Nest was supposed to be separate under the Alphabet brand of companies. But it makes more sense as they're trying to make things more seamless to have the teams working together.
Yeah, it does. And, you really want your hardware to have a cohesive feel. And right now it's kind of not. I mean, the Nest could, their industrial design could do a lot for the Google Home and Mini and all the other, the HomePod and, kind of make that where, a lot of the Apple stuff, you look at it, it's an Apple product. Google really needs that kind of design language in their hardware as well.
Yeah. And I think it would also help for Nest, like the Nest security stuff, to incorporate the Home and everything as a speaker system for it. I mean, it'd be perfect. Mm-hmm. If it calls into whoever you have for your alarm system and things like that.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting. It kind of seeing them, whereas at one point they wanted to try to spread everything out, bringing it back under it. And it makes sense because if you go to the Google store online, those are sold in the same category.
Yeah.
So this is one I'm sure you're happy you're no longer there. That Verizon has said because of thefts, people signing up under fake names for accounts and then going sell the phones, they're going to start locking their phones like other carriers do when you open up a new line and things of that sort, so that you can't just abscond with the phone and go sell it somewhere.
Sorry.
It's interesting. It's interesting in the sense that the legal question is, can they do that? Because part of the stipulations 10 years ago when they got the 700 megahertz spectrum was that they could not lock their devices.
Exactly.
Now, of course, they have their boy on the FCC now, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, to some degree, I understand Verizon's point. You got people signing up on these fake account things. Maybe you need better strength in how you sign up somebody for your devices.
Well, yeah, I mean, Google sells unlocked devices, and they're not locking them because of theft.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is, I could see if they were going to say maybe only for people who create a new account, because you should not be locking phones for people who are existing customers. You know they're real. They've been paying their bill.
Right.
Keep their phone unlocked. I mean, I've already twice had the phones where, because they're unlocked, like for that, 2 months that I used an iPhone 6s Plus, it was easy. All I had to do was I made one phone call to Verizon. It wasn't locked, but because iPhone, the way the server is where it decides what carrier your thing uses, they were able to easily fix it so that my sister was able to activate it on Sprint for my niece. And so Verizon, I've got to give them props. The customer service for that was so great. The lady basically said, if you have any problems, here's a number, tell Sprint to call us and we will walk them through the process if they say they have any problems. So, I mean, that's always been a selling point of the Verizon phones, even for the iPhone stuff, is that they don't lock their stuff. I understand to some degree their worry about the idea of people with fake accounts, but I could see if you limited it to only people creating a new account, and even then only for maybe until the first 2 months are paid or something like that. Because I mean, that fits more what some other carriers do too, where your phone may be only locked for the first 30 or 60 days or 90 days, and then once you've made those payments, they'll remove the lock as long as you're current on your account.
Right.
But yeah, just locking all phones is kind of the heavy-handed approach, and I would hope they don't do it.
Yeah, me too, because that's dumb.
Well, okay, it's also one of the ones, like if you ever buy something on Swap or eBay or something like that, the Verizon phone version has always been the more expensive one because it's known it's unlocked, which means you can take it to any carrier that it will support.
Right.
And you don't have to deal with the potential carrier on trying to get it unlocked.
Right. Because
if that's the case, you really don't want Sprint, because they intentionally try to keep you from unlocking stuff. Pixel 2, I guess I should say the Pixel 2s, both the Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL. A breakdown of the camera app actually shows it does not use the Pixel Visual Core. That was kind of a big selling point for the cameras. Instead, they're using some third-party kind of custom software to activate from a different chip for the actual camera app, and that apparently the Visual Core is only going to be there for third-party apps. And I think Snapchat and Facebook are the first two have utilized that core.
It makes no sense, honestly. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with the pictures that it takes, but
yeah,
why would you not use that special? Maybe they just didn't have the software ready in time.
And I guess at this point, if it works, don't break it. Right. And apparently, I think because they have so much control over their own camera app, I think some of the articles I've read suggest that Google has kind of said, well, but because it's our own app, and we write the code for the OS, we're able to work with the chip manufacturer to actually do something so that's dedicated for this, which frees up the Pixel Visual Core for the third-party apps, so that they won't be lagged down by the operating system itself and its default apps. So, I mean, I guess kind of like you said, if it works, oh well, okay.
I mean, it would be nice to offload some of the HDR stuff to a chip rather than doing it in software, because it would be much more friendly on your battery.
Yeah. But I guess part of their thought is people taking pictures. I know I tend to use the camera app most of the time because I take the picture and then I go share the crap or whatever I'm going to do because I usually edit it first. But a lot of people that do Snapchat and things like that, they don't want to go do that. They'd rather use the app they're using, like whether it's Facebook, Snapchat, whatever. And so it makes more sense to give the preference to those apps.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting. I think if the Pixel 2, if the camera apps were not working well, this might be an issue, but I think it's more of just a random fact that most people will probably forget.
Yep.
So quick public service announcement for you. If you've been looking at the Huawei 10 Pro and looking at the reviews on Best Buy, you may want to take those with a grain of salt because apparently there were hundreds of reviews for a device that no one was supposed to have in their hands yet. And upon further digging, it was because apparently Huawei had basically a contest that said, hey, go post why you would want one of these in a review on Best Buy as a chance to possibly win one. So people are all talking about how great Huawei is and the phones and how they want this phone because it's so great. That's not what reviews are for.
Well, and the funny part is now all of the United States' national security places are saying don't use Huawei devices. They might be, they're controlled by the Chinese state and they might be spying on you and blah, blah, blah. It's like, ooh, that's no good.
As opposed to the Fed's doing it for you.
Right.
Yeah. It's okay for us to know everything you do, but not someone else.
That's right.
So apparently on that kind of front, Samsung has halted the S8 Oreo updates because apparently there's a reboot glitch in the version of the update that they had just started sending out to people. So I guess I guess this would be the Oreo.
The oopsio.
Because I mean, for all those people, you were just like, oh, I'm finally going to get Oreo, and not so fast.
Yeah, I feel bad for those. No, I don't really. I mean,
no, this is why we get Pixels.
Yes. The Pixel.
This is exactly why we get Pixels.
Yeah.
Because we've had Oreo for a while.
Since October.
Yes, since we got the phone, really. But yes. But I mean, the Pixel, my original Pixel, got it right then too. So I mean,
yeah,
there's no games, and so to me that and we've said this before, Samsung has great hardware. It's sexy. I mean, I seriously thought about using my upgrade that I had because I didn't have one on Verizon since I bought my phone through the Google store to get the Note 8. I mean, that phone is awesome. My coworker actually got one. I got to play with it the other day. The hardware is amazing. But then I remind myself, yeah, it's great now, but it'll be the same great software a year from now when you're waiting for an update.
Exactly.
And so, I mean, I could see if it was a tablet or something along those lines where, yes, it's nice to have the latest updates, but as long as it works, I'm less inclined to worry about what's on my tablet than I am what's on my phone because I use my phone way more.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see. And I'm curious to see as we get more stuff on Android P. I'm sure as the betas and stuff start coming out, but especially at I/O, they're going to have some stuff, especially since we didn't really mention it earlier, but supposedly as the details are saying, there's going to be even a bigger focus on the Android Assistant, which makes sense if they're trying to integrate all the Nest and Home stuff. You kind of need that. Although I want Jarvis. Just give me Jarvis and I'm good. I'll even take having it respond to Hey Jarvis, which apparently at one point there was a tie-in at some point and you could do it for some devices. Although it is kind of hilarious, the commercial for the Google Home where the lady's like, okay, boo-boo. If you try that, it will activate your home.
Wow.
So you can say, okay, boo-boo, and it will activate your phone. Yeah, mine just tried to unlock my Pixel 2.
Wonderful.
My apologies.
And there goes the home. So kind of moving out of that, we'll go to our picks. What you got for us, Bill?
All right. So I think I mentioned earlier I had gotten a 4K projector set up. And along with that, I needed a way to display all of my 4K Blu-ray UHD rips from my server. And lo and behold, I started looking for something to do that. And the NVIDIA Shield, which runs Android TV, it's a fantastic little box. It's fast. It's easy to use. There's plenty of apps for the stuff that I want to watch. And I got it on sale for like $150 at Best Buy.
Nice. I mean, I know from when it first came out, Jeff was tweeting and talking about it nonstop about how much he loved this Shield TV.
Yeah. And, it's got a remote. You can use your phone, or it's got a handheld remote. You can pair an Xbox controller with it. So that's perfect. And I've been using it. It runs Kodi really well. That's how I play all my rips. And I don't really have any complaints about it, honestly. It's just been, I was an early Google TV adopter, and I still have a couple in the closet. And I was not an Android TV adopter because of that.
Yeah.
And couldn't be further apart, honestly.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I think my mom still has them in her closet because at one point I pawned them off on her. I still have the original Logitech because I remember you and Dave had recommended, and I picked it up refurbed.
Oh, yeah.
And then you and I both got, when it first came out, the Vizio one. What was it? The CoStar?
Yep. Still have that.
Yeah. I mean, that one had promise, but then they never really delivered on any of the crap they were going to do. But then Android kind of killed the whole thing. So,
yeah. Well, Android TV is really, really good. And once we get Oreo, there's some enhancements that are coming. But, things look really good on it. It handles 4K like a champ. It'll do 10-bit HDR.
It's supposed to also be pretty good with if you have a Plex server as well, too, right?
Yeah, it'll do Plex. It does. There's an HD Home Run app. Unfortunately, they don't have the DRM stuff working for it yet. You actually can use it as your DVR home functionality as well. So you could plug in a hard drive or whatever and store stuff on there.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Sweet. So mine, if you listen to us on the simulcast, I have already used this one before, but my Pixel Buds, I got them in when we pre-ordered. I ordered them with it. I have to say the translation stuff works pretty well. Kind of messing around using it. They actually sound pretty decent, and they were a little more comfortable than I thought. Because I know when we first looked at it, I seriously thought about canceling it because I know you did. Because we were worried about kind of the design of the earbud because they looked like they were hard and painful. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they did good justice of showing the pictures of what the part that goes in your ear actually looks like. They're more, I mean, they do somewhat look like the Apple ones, but they're not. They're a little softer rubber. I mean, they're not soft rubber, but they're a softer touch rubber.
Mm-hmm.
Work real well. I will say, don't wash the case. I actually forgot them in my pocket one day and washed them. Earbuds work fine. Case not so much with the internal battery that doesn't. But I will say this, because they did not have ability to go buy a new case. I reached out to the Google store, and was telling them, look, I just want to buy a replacement case. I watched it. I'm not claiming it's a defect of any sort. They're like, you know what? Where did you buy it from? Did you buy it from the store? Or did you buy it from us? Well, from you guys. He goes, here's what we can do for you. We will send you a replacement, complete everything. You just ship us back the device with the cord and the earbuds. No charge. I'm like, okay. And so, because I had to put in an order for a new pair, because I was like, I'm just going to bite the bullet and buy a new one because I liked them so much. But I have to say, I don't know. I'm not telling you that they'll do it for you, for everyone. And maybe at this point, they've gotten extra cases to be able to replace it. But I mean, that in itself was nice. And I mean, I fully disclosed to them that it was my stupidity which kind of ruined it. But they were like, no, sure. Here, replace it.
That's awesome.
I mean, and they work well. The tap to activate the assistant. To me, the translation stuff's interesting. Although I will say this, I think what they need to do to make the translation stuff work better is, instead of the whole thing where you hand your phone to someone, they need to have the two phones talk to each other. Mm-hmm. So that you can use your own earbuds on the other phone to talk, and you hear what they're saying instead of having the phone act as the speaker. At least have that option so that in the sense that two people have a Pixel device and Pixel buds, they can carry a conversation, dare I say a Google log, and be able to go into that mode. I mean, that would, to me, is going to be the next step they need to have so that you're not handing somebody your device.
Yep.
The other thing would be to incorporate the home, whether the full home or the mini, to act as a speaker for these things with the app as well, instead of using your phone speaker.
Right.
But it'll be interesting. The devices work well. I kind of knew it was going to be kind of first gen type stuff. It wasn't going to be the greatest, but I've been impressed, and the translation stuff works pretty well for what it is.
Hey, let me ask you this. There's a show on Netflix that I was curious to watch, but it's a German show. It's called Dark, and it's supposed to be like Stranger Things, but it's all in German. Would you be able to actually like have those in and listening to that movie and it translate for you?
No, because it would be painful to try to do it, because you'd have to basically click the button on your phone, have it play some audio, and then pause it so that it could then relay it back to you. I mean, it's not true live. Okay. I mean, it's still a back and forth type thing, and it's meant more for a sentence or 2 sentences at a time type thing, not a constant streaming thing for it. They're not there yet, at least.
Gotcha.
I mean, I think, what is it? What was it? Not Babelfish, but it's something along those lines that they were doing these beat these out to market, but they were kind of Kickstarter thing that was supposed to, in theory, try to do more live. And I feel suspect to that, because it's all going to be contingent upon another device processing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're not quite to that point. Maybe in 2 generations, especially now that the processors now could basically whoop most computers from 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
It's kind of sick to think about where we're at processor wise on a phone, when it has 8 cores and your laptop still only has 2.
Huh.
But yeah, I mean, to me, they're great. I know so many people are like, oh, they're not wireless. Well, yeah, they are. Just because they have a cord connecting the two of them, they still don't have a cord that goes to your phone.
Right.
I mean, the Jaybirds, you don't call those wired headphones. They're Bluetooth wireless headphones. They have a wire that connects the 2 buds together. And I actually like that, because I've had moments where I'll pull one out of my ear as I'm talking to somebody, and it's nice that I don't have to worry about them falling or having to go find a place for it.
All the time with my Jaybirds. My
Blue Buds, Jaybirds,
yeah. I always have one hanging out, if somebody's talking to me or whatever.
So, I mean, I actually like the idea of the cord behind it, but to say, well, it's not true wireless because it has it. Well, there's only like 4 companies that make earbuds that have no cord between them that are Bluetooth, and all of them have the problem that they're easy to lose.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have my ones that have the cord between them. And I'll have to say, they charge really well. The case charges. It's nice that it uses USB-C to charge the case. Really, the only big knock I have is the idea that you're so contingent on the case to charge that if something happens to your case, there's no replacement right now.
Yeah, that is a little weird.
So hopefully, because of that, they'll give you the same kind of deal where, hey, if you bought it from the Google store, as long as we send it to you. In my case, because I wanted to get it, they put a hold for the ones until I sent the ones back. But I could have just waited and done the thing. Hey, no, I'll tell you what. Send me the thing, I'll send it to you, and then you send me some. If you're really that worried about putting a hold, but for the $100 and something bucks, I didn't care.
Yep.
It's not like it's a phone that's $800 to $1,000. That's a little different.
Yep.
Okay, so let's let everybody know how you can reach us. How about you, Bill?
I'm easy to find. Just go to billstebbins.com or find me on, where am I? Twitter. Yeah, Twitter. Go to my Twitters. It's at Bill Stebbins.
He's also known as Don't Block Me, Bro.
Yeah, don't block me, bro.
You can find me on Twitter at AXP _Patrick. You can also find me recording. In fact, I'm going to talk to Bill after this, see about when we want to set up for next simulcast recording, and occasionally on the Tech Talk podcast on the Tech Side Network. So you can find me on those. Twitter is easily the one to send, just because I usually try to check it. And of course, I love the fact that it tells you when someone uses your name. So in closing, you can find us simply by searching for AndroidXperience or Tech Side in your podcast client of choice, or you can subscribe to the show in Google Play Music or iTunes. Please take the time to leave us a review and comment. Alternatively, we have another link for our non-Google Play Music and iTunes listeners, which you can find right here in our show notes. We also have a Patreon page. This gives our dedicated and loyal listeners an opportunity to support the podcast or the other podcasts on the network for as little as $1 a month. If you'd like to support us, visit our support page at patreon.com/techside. Leave us a comment on Twitter at AXP Podcast, or email the network at axp@techside.net. Check out our website at techside.net/AXP, and be sure to check out all of our other great podcasts, blogs, photo galleries, and the TechSide store at techside.net. So we thank you all for listening, and goodbye.
Good night.